Hey guys, Bits and Pieces here. Thanks again for checking out my channel and watching my videos. I really appreciate the support. This is pretty still new and exciting for me. I released my album a couple weeks ago, and I figured one of the things I've been wanting to do is kind of showing people kind of the steps involved in creating a track. Some people have been asking me, like, how do you do this and what do you use? I'm going to show you a little bit of the program I use called Rytmik Studio. I really like it, but really this video can really apply to anybody using anything. It's going to kind of just show you how to start creating music, and I mean, it's really a matter of preference, but kind of just to show you what I do. So with that, let's get started.
Alright, so when I first started, I really started with Rytmik Ultimate, and as you can see, it does what it needs to do. It gave me a little bit of room to work with. If you're not familiar with it, it's a really simple to use, but still difficult if you don't know what you're doing program to start making your own music. Now jump ahead about, I don't know, a year and a half later or so, and all of a sudden Rytmik comes out with Rytmik Studio. A lot more robust, lets you have a lot more control over the effects, the reverb, things like that. Something to really enhance the sound of your music. Alright, so just like an art canvas, if you're going to be painting or drawing or anything like that, you start with a blank slate. And you might be a little bit lost, but this is where the fun starts. You get to experiment, and pretty much what I'm going to do is really not show you how the program itself works, but kind of show you how you can go from a blank canvas and build it so it goes from something like this to something more like you have your pieces and then actually putting them together. So you'll see up here I have different kind of bass tracks, got the drum tracks right here, and then I just got a couple other things just to add some extra effect to the music. So now when you put it all together, you get something more robust and really kind of helps drive it home. And we'll get into that, how to figure out what works and what doesn't. Alright, so this tutorial is more or less trying to show you how I go about making my music. It's different for everybody, obviously, but if you are using Rytmik Studio or just starting out, this will help you. Or even if you're using a different program, maybe you're not sure where to start and you're kind of new or are looking into getting into more of this type of music. So I personally like to try to pick out going through like maybe my drums first. So in this case, I want to get like a rhythm first to help me kind of spark my creativity. So we'll kind of go in here. I'm going to do 140 beats per minute for this particular tutorial. No reason in particular. Now with my program, most of them have different sound effects, different areas, but because again I'm a nerd, I like the video game stuff, I'm going to start just something basic like this. So I like that kind of kick sound. Now down here is my little palette, so now I can start putting where I want the tracks to start and where I want the rhythm. So I'm going to try this a little bit and we'll see what we can do. Alright, so that sounds a little off. Let's try something a little bit different. There we go. Okay, I like that a lot. Alright, so the basic rhythm is set. So I kind of know how the rhythm is going to go for the rest of the track that I want to make. But, obviously I want to add something like percussion to this. You could build some other things on top of it, but so what I'm going to do is I don't want to have to lay this out every single time, that same kick all throughout the different kind of add-ons. So what I'm going to do is in this particular program I can duplicate this sound. So I just come down here and duplicate it, And so now what you'll see is, oh, look, I've got this one and this one. So I'm going to use the second area here to help me create another track. So you'll see the drums that I laid here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, and now I want a percussion. There it is. Alright, so I want to add that somewhere, but what's nice is with this I can kind of play the loop and see if I can try to fit this in somewhere that I like it. Perfect. Okay, so now you hear that. Now it's kind of coming together, right? So we got now the basic kick, and now we're adding the snare. And again, you can add cymbals and other things like that, whatever you want. Again, it's your creativity that's really stopping you or are not stopping you at this point. All right, so we have a basic rhythm now. What I'd like to do is start adding some other things to it. In this case, the bass. And that's going to help, for me again, it's a matter of preference, but that's going to kind of help me set the tone for the rest of the track and kind of get an idea of what I want to do. If you're familiar with Rytmik Studio, you'll know that you can add the bass to the drum tracks if you want to, the samples, but I like to separate mine most of the time. So I'm going to actually come up here and create all my bass lines right here. So I'm going to start in here, make sure it's at 140 beats per minute so it matches what the rest of the rhythm of the song. I'm going to come down here to the bass. I'm going to keep this one again, kind of keeping it nerdy. And now I'm going to try to kind of play around with this, knowing it's 140 beats per minute and keeping in mind the drum track. You could play that if you want to, but I'm going to try it a different way real quick. Awesome. Okay. So we got that bass line started. Again, as I see fit, or as you see fit, you can make little tweaks on that to vary it up a little bit. But now let's kind of put these together and see what happens. So I'm going to lay out the first, the first few drum beats here, and then we'll add the bass to that, and let's see how that sounds. Let me just move this over real quick so I have enough space. Give me just a moment. Alright, almost done. Okay, now let's hear how that sounds all together real quick. Okay, perfect. So it's getting started. Again, there's other effects and things that you can tweak to make it more, if you want to echoey or really distorted, you can do that. But again, just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just showing you the basic groundworks here. So, okay, so we have the basic groundwork laid out for the bass and the drum beat. But I still feel like this might be missing something. And this is where, again, you can use your own creativity to figure this out. But I like the bass, but I still think maybe having a little bit of variety to it might, again, further enhance this track. So give me just a moment. I'm going to do exactly what we did with the drum beat. I'm just going to come up here, make a quick copy or duplicate, so I have a second area to work with while preserving my first bass track. But I'm just going to change the last note very slightly. Let's see how that sounds real quick. Okay. So instead of having all the kind of the bass that ends with the higher pitch, let's try it with the lower pitch on the first three and then leave it at that higher pitch at the end. Interesting, right? So it changes it just slightly. And again, as you're doing this, you're going to find that it's okay to experiment. Sometimes it might be turned into something that you didn't expect. But again, just one simple note can change, again, the entire outcome of the rest of the track that you want to make. All right, so now we have the bass. We changed it very slightly to get another outcome of this track, the way we want it to go. So now I can start adding some variations on the more like the leads and things like that. So I'm going to yet again create another copy of this. And I'm going to go to the second channel. Again, trying to keep it that same video game vibe. But again, you can experiment. If you think you could add some electric guitars to that, make it cool, by all means, you go ahead and do whatever is right for you. All right. Okay, perfect. But again, you want to try to still, if you want to try to make that something similar with the other bass track, the other bass sample that has the higher note. So how are we going to make that work? Going to duplicate it. Going to come over here. Again, let me save myself some time. I'm just going to copy this from what I have for the first lead here. I'm going to go back into the extra copy I have, and then I'm just going to paste the whole thing. But again, that this going down with the bass going up doesn't sound right. So let's see if we can make this part go higher. And there we go. Look at that. Then again, we'll just throw the drums, continuing over here, and here we go. Check this out. Awesome, awesome. So again, this is, it seems simple. The thing to keep in mind is it's not always that simple. I have albums and songs and things that I work on, and I could just have samples like this sitting around for months, and you just have to play around with it. The whole means of being successful with this is you have to persevere and you have to try new things. Like, go outside of your comfort zone, because you might find something that works, and that could really be something that creates a really awesome track. Maybe not, but again, very important, always make sure you save your track. So every few moments you want to save it, see what you like doing. I've just got this as tutorial for my song name. I'm just going to save it real quick. And every time you come up with something, even if it's like one little block that you're not even sure what to do with, if you think that's going to help you, you definitely want to save that and then put it off somewhere. Even if it's not maybe with the bass, belongs over in a different spot up here. Just, you want to do something to save that, because you never know when it might come in handy. Alright, so I gave you a really brief kind of tutorial, more or less even like just how to go about laying the groundwork out. And again, I know this program is one that I mostly use, but as I mentioned before, you can use pretty much anything that you want. Whatever program you're using, by all means, you just go at it and see what you can do. The biggest thing here is really trial and error. You're going to make mistakes. You may do something that sounds really good up to a certain point, and then you're like, oh well, how can I incorporate something else right now? And that happens to me a lot. and that's okay too. You can try it. If it doesn't work, well, maybe save that sample for another track, or see if maybe somehow down the road you can incorporate it. I'm not going to go into the rest of it, but give me just a few moments, and what I'm going to do is see what we can do to make the rest of this track in a more complete, complete piece of work. And the rest of my friends is history. So I really hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to be probably putting a few more of these out. If you like them, just please leave me a comment in the comment section, subscribe to my channel. I'll be more than happy to do this. I might be doing some live streams down the road, or just kind of a really start to finish process. Just wanted to kind of give you a feel for what it's like coming up with this stuff, and why in some cases, I mean, it took me about a year and a half to create my first album, and I've got a couple more that are still in the works, but I still have a long ways to go. But I really do hope you enjoyed everything, and until next time, I hope you guys have a good one.